There is something to having a little bit of freak inside of you. I'm reviewing Frankie Frico. Frankie Frico is a new comedy horror from Shout Studios, and it is in limited theaters right now. It is directed by Steven Kostanski. It stars Adam Brooks, Matthew Kennedy, and Connor Sweeney. I'm going to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible so I don't ruin the film for you if you do decide to see it. I love Steven Kostanski's films. If you aren't familiar with him, he directed 2016's The Void, which was amazing, and also 2020's Psycho Goreman, which was absolutely in my top 10 for that year. We follow Connor, who is a very basic, very boring dude who is actually really quite clueless. He also has a very shady boss who wants him to do maybe questionable things and also has a very questionable rat tail. It's just this big, long rat tail, and it is ridiculous. His wife heads out of town for work, and he decides to call a party line to spice things up, because pretty much everyone in his life thinks he's very boring. 3 Fricos show up. Frankie, who is the rock and roll party dude, and I pretty much feel like he's the leader of the bunch, and Boink, who is a techie dude. He speaks some words, but he also does shalom. And also Dottie, who is a cowgirl with a bandana. Hey there, partner. She kind of reminds me of Six Shooter from Puppet Master. Pew, 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 pew. This is a perfect homage to lowbrow horror comedies of the 80s. This movie is absolutely over the top, crazy, weird, and yes, freaky. If you want to get an idea of the basic feel of this film, it definitely has influences from the Garbage Pail Kids movie, some influence from Gremlins and Ghoulies. It reminds me of so many films from the 80s. Honestly, I also feel like there might be a Roger Rabbit reference. I don't know. I mean, I see so much here, it's crazy. This is the most 80s movie that was not made in the 80s. I mean, especially the ending. It's basically a big, huge love letter to the 80s. And some of it is horror films from the 80s or comedy horror films from the 80s. And some of it's like those feel-good family films from the 80s where everything is just, yay, I'm sure everything's gonna be all right. It's fine. It'll all work itself out, right? If you're like me, you loved Psycho Goreman. I absolutely loved that film so much, and I just want to state that this is very different from Psycho Goreman. It does have some horror elements, but it is not as in your face, very light on the horror. And it also doesn't have the same sort of gore or as an adult of a film. This is definitely an adult film. This is not for kids. I don't know if this film is rated. It is all meant to be funny and lighthearted, and none of it is meant to be taken very seriously. Cinematography here is wonderful. Like, everything is shot well, everything is well lit, everything flows, it's all good. What's crazy is not only does the film feel like it's from the 80s, but the home is decorated similarly to the 80s, and their clothing, it might be set in the 80s. Oh my God, did I just miss that? Did I not even realize it was set in the 80s? Oh my gosh, why am I so dumb? For some reason, it didn't even occur to me that this film was actually supposed to be set in the 80s until now. And of course it is, because when you look at, that's embarrassing. This film is clearly set in the 80s. One of my favorite things from the 80s films, and I've said this, is the lightning. All the lightning that they used in these 80s films. I don't know why, but I love it. It totally makes me happy and makes me smile because it's so silly, but it's actually kind of effective as well. And it's used in this film, and it made me happy. Obviously, the biggest thing here are the puppets. And the puppets are amazing. Each one of them has very individual personalities. Steven Kostanski does a really good job of taking something or someone that's covered in makeup and prosthetics or an inanimate object and making them feel like they're a real living, breathing creature. I love each of these puppets. I think they look phenomenal. They have really good facial movement and facial expressions. I love their style. And you do see other Freakos as well in this film, not just the main three, not just this group that comes to visit him, but there are additional creatures throughout, and they too have their own identities. I really love them as well. I feel like a ton of work was put into creating and conceptualizing them. They really are so very cool and so very original and unique. All I was thinking was how I wanted to reach out and like touch them. I was like, I wonder what they feel like, because it looks so soft and squishy. And they did an amazing job on the puppets. I can't even imagine how much work went into the puppets, because while this is a relatively simple concept and there's really like only a couple locations ultimately, it feels like a much bigger picture. So I think that's really successful as well. You know, we kind of don't know what the Freakos are. We don't really know if they're goblins or demons. Does it matter? Not really. As far as the gore goes, yeah, there's a little gore. There's some blood. There's a cut that looks pretty decent. That gets bandaged up rather quickly. I can't even believe this is what I'm gonna say. There is also some body horror, but it's not for people. It's puppet body horror. And I found that hilarious and awesome. Now, I will tell you, there are some things that I wish had been done with this film. Like, I definitely wish that it had been more gory, more bloody, and more over the top. And when I say that, I think there could have just been some fodder for the cannon. Just douse them with a lot of blood, just have a little bloodbath here and there or whatever. I love that. But that's just a me preference. So this is probably for more people. If you want something that's gonna be a gore fest, no, I'd say this probably isn't it for you either. But if you want a fun, crazy 80s romp that has some horror and some craziness and fun, then this is definitely the film for you. I would definitely recommend it. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Don't think this is for everyone. I think some people are gonna see it and not recognize it for what it is, or they don't enjoy those type of films, which is fine. If you like really cheesy 80s horror films, then I think you'll love this. It's totally nostalgic in the best way. I totally think there's room for a Frankie Freako 2, bigger and badder or bolder and bloodier. It's so bloody, darling. And I can't wait to see what Steven Kostanski does next, because I think he's working on another film right now. So I don't know which direction he plans on taking that, but I bet you it's gonna be fantastic. Did you see The Void or Psycho Goreman? And are you planning on seeing Frankie Freako? What are you most looking forward to this October? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I really do hope that you have the most amazing day, my spooky darlings. I would like to say a big, wonderful thank you so very much to my amazing Patreon members. Thank you for supporting me and supporting the channel, and I really appreciate it. Chris Mizictino, Jimmy Hoare, Eddie, Janie McLaren, Jose Reyes, Phil Smith, Jim Kemmerling, Mickey B, and Deal Demon. And they even had one of those printers that like prints on the paper that's like a continuous feed of paper. You know what I'm talking about? Like the one that just like, I think you used to have to rip the, I'm sorry, I don't really know what the printers were like, but like that, like they ripped them apart or something, like they ripped the pieces of paper. They like feed it, oh my God, I'm having a hard time with, like they feed it and it like comes through the printer and you can like just print sheets, and it's not like a sheet, it's like a sheet. I should look this up so I don't sound like an idiot. Shalom, shalom. The wife drives an amazing red bug, like those Volkswagen Beetles. Oh my God, it's so cool. Funny story, I actually got my thumbnail completely ripped off by one of those because I was a kid and playing with the door and just totally right in the door. My whole like nail was just like dangling and I had to pull it off. It was very rough. That's all.